Evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ruchika Roy, and I am an MD in homeopathy in the organ of medicines. I am in this homeopathic field with an experience of more than 12 years in practice. So let's start with the today's video. आज जो वीडियो मैं करने वाली हूँ, this is about Alumina. Okay, it's in Materia Medica series. We will start the Materia Medica series, and this is video for those the BHMS student who are studying homeopathy. Number two, this is an in-depth Materia Medica, not a superficial one कि हाँ इसके लिए medicines ले लो, इसके लिए ये medicines ले लो. It is an in-depth Materia Medica, and this is also used as like helpful for the practitioners and also to those who love homeopathy and who wanted to know the homeopathy. बहुत को homeopathy नहीं पता ये है क्या चीज़ है. So these are for them also. ठीक है. So let's start for the first thing, the drug which widely used in homeopathic materia medica, Alumina. Okay, so let's start with this. Okay, so let me share. Yeah. So if you see this alumina, it is basically made up from the aluminium. Okay. So the drug is first triturated and then it is potentized. So whatever the toxicity which is present in the aluminium in a raw form, you will not find in the dilution or in the trituration form. ठीक है. So aluminium toxicity के लिए toxic because जब aluminium में cooking होता है, though it is देखा गया है कि there is some toxin which is present which is going to affect the organs in the body. So in homeopathic materia medica, we use this aluminium metal to make our medicines. But this, because the process, okay, जहाँ पर ट्राइटूरेशन होता है और इतना डायलेशंस होते हैं, बेसिकली पोटेंटाइजेशन इतना होता है कि जो टॉक्सिक एलिमेंट है एल्युमिनियम का वो न के बराबर होता है, बिकॉज नहीं होता है. एंड what happened, the basically it's the property, it's a curative property, it's developed. So in this way basically the homeopathic develop we the medicines which called as a dilution. Okay, so let's start with the series of the alumina. Like first materia medica drug, that is alumina. So if you see the picture, what you see that there is a person who is saying that who am I, that is मैं कौन हूँ. So basically it is a like confused identity. Okay, so confusion of the identity. The person identity has been so much suppressed that he doesn't know what he is anymore, वो कौन है. And why it is developed, why this confusion of the identity developed? Because if you see this picture, okay, in the picture what you see, a person is basically he is holding his child. Okay, so if the person, if the child is in that, like in the parents and the relationship with their like child, if the child is not given the identity, in which way, suppose whatever the child does, कुछ भी अगर वो करता है, then the parents say no, it is not a that you are not a good for anything. Okay, so you are not a good for anything, and because of this, if it is repeated, they have they forgot. Okay, their individuality and identity have been broken down, and whatever the child does, the child thinks that no, I maybe I am wrong in this, maybe I'm not good enough is enough in this. So this develop the confusion of the identity. Okay, so it can be in the like in the child level also, but it also in the adult also. Okay, so now if you see in the other, so what are the things which is developed in the alumina personality? Number one, timidity. There is a low confidence, fear. Okay, so when your parents say no to anything, और या तू ये भी नहीं कर सकता, तू वो भी नहीं कर सकता, तुझसे ये नहीं हो पाएगा, ये तूने सही से नहीं किया, इसको ऐसा करना चाहिए था, ये तुझसे होगा भी नहीं. So this thing, all this, humiliation or this con thing, this develop, they basically some of the characteristic features in alumina. What are the things? Number one is timidity, the low confidence and the fear. ठीक है, सो टिमिड होगा, कॉन्फिडेंस लो हो जाएगा और उसमें एक डर बन जाएगा कि क्या मैं कर पाऊंगा, सो अगर आप कैन रिपीटेडली देखोगे उसमें से ये रुब्रिक है, दैट इज irresolution, timidity and the fear, and delusion had belongs to others. So what do you mean by the delusion had belonged to others? That means को मुझे उसको खुद का डिसीजन खुद लेना नहीं आता, तो वो पिछले कई लोगों से पूछेगा, ठीक है। अगर किसी ने बोला कि हाँ तू ऐसा कर, तो वो वही करेगा। So he has to mold himself according to the what other people wants, because he is in irresolution state, he is in timidity. Okay, so these are the some of the feature of the alumina. Sometimes see parental control is so strong the child has lose his identity and he become very much impulsive. Okay, so there is an impulsive behavior in the child. There is a violent act. Okay, so sometimes there is a suicidal tendency also, and in the alumina patient, the suicide they shoot themselves. Okay, they shoot themselves, and also impulse to cut himself. So whenever there is an like whenever he see any pointed things, any pointed object, or see a knife, or see a blood, anything, he or she has an impulse to cut anything, to either to cut himself or to cut others. Okay, so this type of the impulsive and the aggressive behavior you will see in the alumina personality. Now in the alumina personality, this is basically impulsive means he does not have in control of the will. So weak will. So weak will is seen more in the in the mental part also, and also in the physical part. In the physical part, what you will see, that is in the trembling. Okay, trembling, or while walking, he feels that he will fall down. So it is one of the good remedy for the locomotor ataxia. He has to unable to control his willpower, which is known as a weak will. Okay, so. So they are the other characteristic thing is they are very impulsive in nature. Now, fear of losing control. If you see the anger and the fear of losing control, and that fear would lead him to do any crime. Now, suppose a person, if he's in the clinic, in a clinic, and after talking with so many things, and like talking and talking, you will come to know that or he will say, no, whenever I see any sharp object, I wrap it with the with the paper or anything, because whenever I see any sharp object, I have an impulse or have a feeling that I want to cut anything. So this is also one thing, your fear of losing control. Okay. Now, if you see in the next picture, if you see this picture, it is well organized. Now, the alumina patient is in the rubric fastidious also, and in the organized also. So, in fastidious also, there are other remedies such as carcinosin, and carcinosin भी है, nux vomica भी है, arsenic भी है, graphitis भी है, and there is another remedy which is known, which is your alumina. तो एलुमिना का फास्टिडियसनेस एंड एलुमिना का जो ऑर्गेनाइज सब कुछ रखना, इट इज ड्यू टू हिज टिमिडिटी पार्ट. व्हाई? बिकॉज इफ इट्स उसको लगता है अगर वो ऐसा नहीं रखेगा तो पीपल विल ह्यूमिलेट हिम एंड ही विल बी फिनिश्ड. Okay, so this is the why he is doing, and that is why he become too much rigid. So he feel that he need to be very hard and rigid in order to keep his identity. So basically it is a hope of mechanism to cover his timidity or the fear part. Okay, so he feels that he need to be hard and rigid in order to keep his identity. Okay, now there is an rubric. What is a rubric? That is obstinate. Okay, resist the wishes of the others, which shows he is very much rigid. Number second is the timidity alternating with the assurance. So this rubric you will find in the synthesis. Okay, now if you see in this picture, there is a children who is writing in the left hand. So in the soul remedies, it is written that this type of the alumina, the person, they are mostly the like left-handed person. Okay, so left-handed children, when they are forced to write in the right hand, okay, they are forced to lose their identity. Okay, whether and they become too much confused whether they write in the left hand or whether they write in the right hand. Okay, so this is one of the important things. You need to know that the person who basically left-handed, okay, but when he was very small, when he was a kid, then parents and the teachers, they told him you have to write in the right hand only. Okay, and but from the beginning, from the childhood, he or she is a left-handed. But if someone forces him and to pushes him or her that now this is the right way to write, you should use your right hand, that is one of the way that he is losing his identity, whether to use a right hand or whether to use a left hand, because he is much more comfortable in writing in the left hand. Okay, so these are some of the rubric, that is confusion, identity, delusion, it belongs to the others, impulsiveness, fastidious, contradictory to the speech, okay, fastidious, and ailment, from being scorned. So these are the some rubrics you will find in the Materia Medica. Now, if you see the another picture, okay, so yeah, it's not written here. So if you see this picture, here the picture, it shows your contemptuous. Okay, so contemptuous means the person is looking down to the others. So in Alumina also there is a rubric, contemptuous. Okay, that he looks down to the others. So what the person will say, अरे डॉक्टर, आई वॉज स्टडिंग इन अ वेरी गुड स्कूल, मैं बहुत अच्छे स्कूल में पढ़ती थी, उसमें वो इंग्लिश मीडियम स्कूल था, ट्रांसफर होके अभी यहाँ पर आ गए, यहाँ पर तो कैसा स्कूल है, हिंदी मीडियम स्कूल है, इसमें तो लोग कुछ भी नहीं आता है इन लोगों को, हाँ कहाँ से थी और कहाँ आ गई. So this is one of the version of the patients. Okay, and now come to the another one, anxiety when the time is certain, meet time anxiety. So this rubric is you will also find in the argentinum nitricum, which is very much prominent, and also in the gelsemium. So anxiety when the time is certain. So in the gelsemium and the argentinum nitricum, they have to go to the value every time. Okay, जब भी एग्जाम का समय होता है या मुझे अभी मीटिंग के लिए जाना है, कितने बजे मीटिंग है, 10 बजे का मीटिंग है, तो वो 7-8 बजे से वो मतलब नहीं अभी अभी रेडी होना है, अभी निकलना है, अभी निकलना है, देन इतनी एंग्जाइटी उनको होती है. वो एंग्जाइटी के लिए आइदर ही हैज टू गो टू द स्टूल एवरी टाइम, और देयर इज अ पैल्पिटेशन स्टार्ट कि पता नहीं मैं कर पाऊंगा कि नहीं, क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा. So these are the anxiety when the time is set in. Now, how the alumina personality develop. So that is, one is ailment from the domination. The second one is an ailment from repeated scorn and the humiliation. Okay, so if you see its journey, that is from the childhood, how it is developed. One is from the domination. There is another remedies also. Carcinosin is also one of the remedy, but carcinosin has a pleasing personality. Okay, he want to please others. ओके, उसको परफेक्ट होना है, सब कुछ परफेक्ट करना है, जस्ट टू प्लीज. एलुमिना को उसको प्लीजिंग पर्सनालिटी नहीं है. उसको क्या है कि अगर मैं नहीं रह पाया तो मुझे वो लोग लाइक फिनिश कर देंगे, तो मुझे वो लोग ह्यूमिलेट करेंगे, तो वो डर रहता है. दैट इज द ओनली टू डिफरेंस बिटवीन दी like what are the difference between the carcinosin, that fastidious nature, and the difference between the fastidious nature of the your alumina. Okay, so now if you see this picture, there is two picture. One is our intellect and other it is our emotions. So alumina basically it affects the intellect part. It first affects the intellect and then the emotion comes. Okay, and in the emotion also the first most emotion is the sadness. Okay, so what is the intellect? The intellect is means judgment is disturbed because he's in confusion in identity, so he does not know what is right, what is wrong, what to do, what not to do, ये करना है कि नहीं है, इसमें करना है कि नहीं है. So there is an always confusion of the ideas. He also makes mistakes in writing, in the reading or the speaking, or when he speaks he forgets the word कि मैंने क्या use किया था, अच्छा ये use करना था. So basically it affects the judgment of the person. So judgment is basically disturbed. Or there is a writing in the Kent Mathematica. It is saying that when he says anything, he feels that another person has a said in, or when he sees anything, he sees that किसी और ने उसको देख मतलब किसी और कोई और देख रहा था. ठीक है? So another person basically had seen it. So this type of the confusion you will find in the Alumina. So this is a confusion of the ideas or confusion of the thoughts, or inability to follow the train of the thoughts, or the inability to follow the train of the thoughts. And most of the emotional symptoms, if it comes into this sadness. Okay, so sadness is basically mostly in the morning time. So moreover, all his ailment, जितने सारे जो ailments उसके हैं, they are aggravated in the morning time. Okay, so सुबह उठ के the person is in a confused state. अच्छा वो कुछ देर तक वो बैठा रहेगा, उसके बाद वो बिस्तर से उठेगा because he was in confusion. So this type of the state you will found in the lycopodium, in the asculus hip, and also in the alumina. Okay, so sadness in the morning, confusion in the morning, and the weeping state in the morning, because he doesn't recognize कि मैं कहाँ हूँ. That is everything. All these complaints activated in the morning. Now, if you see this picture, there is an intestinal picture which is gut to intestine relation, and there is a gut to the bladder relation. Okay, sorry, not gut, the brain to the bladder relation, and the brain to the gut relation. So basically, alumina is very good remedy for the constipation also, and sluggishness of the activity of the movement of the peristaltic movement of the intestine. So intestine में movement होता है. Okay, whenever there is any food product and whatever the undigested product, it wanted to get rid of it via the stool. Okay, so that time of movement is going down. Okay, so that movement is known as peristaltic movement of the intestine. Okay, सो एलुमिना में क्या होता है, ये मूवमेंट या तो बहुत स्लगिश हो जाएगा, या तो ब्रेन के साथ जो लाइक कनेक्टिविटी है जीआईटी की, वो रेस्पॉन्स नहीं कर पाएगा, विच इज मोस्टली कॉमन फीचर इन द लाइक इन द ब्लैडर. सो इन द रेक्टम में क्या होगा, दैट इज रेक्टम दैट सॉफ्ट, द स्टूल इज वेरी सॉफ्ट, बट इट रिक्वायर्स अ वेरी लाइक प्रेशर. तो पेशेंट आपको यही आके बोलेगा मेरा स्टूल तो हार्ड नहीं है, स्टूल तो साफ नहीं होता बराबर से, मतलब अर्ज तो कभी कभी लगता नहीं है, हाँ तो अर्ज अगर लगे भी तो मुझे काफी घंटों तक बैठना पड़ता है, काफी मतलब स्टूल को पास कराने में, और कुछ होता भी नहीं है. दैट इज स्लगिशनेस ऑफ द एक्टिविटी ऑफ द इंटेस्टाइन. ठीक है, स्टूल हार्ड नहीं है, स्टूल सॉफ्ट है, बट पेरालिटिक इफेक्ट ऑफ द आइदर द रेक्टम, जो स्टूल को निकाल नहीं पा रहा है. ठीक है, इट्स नॉट द टोटल पैरालिसिस, but that movement which is going into the sigmoid colon or in the rectum part. Okay, so this is basically about the nervous like your rectum, the stool part of the uh, alumina. So इस तरह की soft stool and required great staining, it's also seen in nux moscata and the platina. प्लैटिना का भी अगर आप देखोगे, देयर इज वेरी इक्विवेलेंट टू नक्स और एलुमिना, बिकॉज दोनों में कंसेप्चुअस है कि दोनों ही दे लुक डाउन टू द अदर्स. ओके, प्लस सॉफ्ट स्टूल रिक्वायर्ड ग्रेट स्टेनिंग, दीज आर ऑल्सो फीचर ऑफ प्लैटिना ऑल्सो, and also in the alumina. There is another drug which has the same thing, which is known as the nux moscata. But nux moscata में sleepiness is very profound. Okay, it sleeps and the sluggishness, and along with the sleepiness is much more marked with a dry mouth. Okay, next in case of alumina भी बहुत dry होता है, so इसके constipation भी बहुत hard होते हैं, just like that of a bryonia, but it is mostly seen in the constipation with the inability to pass the stool, even the stool is soft. Now if you see this picture, this is a picture of brain and the bladder. ठीक है, अगर आप दिखाई दे रहा है तो ये brain का और bladder का picture है, ये sensory basically their pathways हैं. Okay, so यहाँ पर क्या होता है कि suppose the patient complain क्या करेगा कि मैं बाथरूम तो बैठती हूँ, बाथरूम तो मैं जाती, यूरिन तो मुझे लगता है, पर जब मैं यूरिन के लिए जाती हूँ और बैठती हूँ तो मुझे काफी टाइम लगता है यूरिन पास करने में. मैंने अल्ट्रासोनोग्राफी करवाया तो सब कुछ ठीक है, डॉक्टर मेरा तो प्रोस्टेट ग्लैंड भी ठीक है, मुझे तो कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, पर फिर भी इतना टाइम क्यों लगता है मुझे यूरिन पास करने में. सो इट इज ड्यू टू दिस एक्टिविटी, ब्रेन टू द ब्लैडर एक्टिविटी, दैट न्यूरो कंट्रोल neural control of the that mechanism is disturbed. So either the urine is very slow, it is coming by drop, or it get retained in the bladder, और बहुत धीरे धीरे वो निकलता है. Okay, so that urinary, so either this internal sphincter, external sphincter is not working properly, okay, or which is known as a paralytic bladder. Okay, so there are another things. If it's alumina is a very good remedy for the vertigo, because alumina का ना जो main action होता है ना वो spinal system में होता है. So very good remedy for the old debilitated people who are suffering from the vertigo. ठीक है, चक्कर आना, जैसे कि नीचे देख रहे हैं या ऊपर देख रहे हैं, तो उनको बेसिकली इट अफेक्ट्स द स्पाइनल कॉर्ड. ओके, एंड वर्टिगो, अगर कोई भी पेशेंट आपको बोलता है कि जब भी मैं आंखें बंद करता हूं और तब मुझे चक्कर आते हैं, तो याद रखिएगा मोस्ट ऑफ द कॉमन जो रीजन होगा ना वो बेसिकली स्पाइनल रिलेटेड होगा. ओके, आइदर देयर इज एन प्रॉब्लम इन द स्पाइनल रीजन. नाउ मोडालिटी में हमने क्या देख लिया, मोडालिटी में दे आर मोस्टली एग्रीवेटेड इन द मॉर्निंग टाइम, राइजिंग जैसे उठने के बाद बहुत ज्यादा होता है. दूसरा चीज, इट इज अ वेरी, एलुमिना इज अ वेरी गुड रेमेडी फॉर द एब्डोमिनल कॉलिक है, लेट कॉलिक जिसको बोलते हैं ना, जैसे कि पेंटर्स है, इसको पेंटर्स कॉलिक भी बोलते हैं. पहले क्या था ना, पेंट्स में लेड का यूज बहुत होता था, प्लम्बम इस तरह से. सो एलुमिना द एंटीडोट द इफेक्ट ऑफ द लेड, सो इट इज अ वेरी गुड रेमेडी फॉर द लेड कॉलिक. Okay, another one plumbum metallicum and the other is a is a platina. ठीक है. So दूसरा है इसकी modality जो aggravate होती है potato. So alumina patient they aggravate from the potato. Either बस आपको मिलेगा कि या तो बहुत चिप्स वगैरह, वो पोटैटो चिप्स वगैरह खाता है, या तो आलू, मतलब अगर जब भी खाता है तब भी उसे कॉन्स्टिपेशन भर जाता है. So this is potato aggravation. And they modality that is the relief in the warm damp weather. Alumina is a remedy for the dryness. The dryness is very much marked. Sweating भी उसकी बहुत कम होती है. Perspiration is very less. So this inability to perspire, it is in the rubric. Nose is very dry. There is a chronic khatara of the nose. So repeated cold and infections होगा तो सर्दियाँ जमेगी, and then the सर्दी वो slacked up हो जाएगा, and there will be a complaint of chronic sinusitis. और तो सर्दी गले में जमेगी, पेशेंट बोलेगा मुझे हर समय यहाँ पर म्यूकस म्यूकस लगता है, करता हूँ फिर वो निकलता है. ओके, so this is known as your post nasal discharge. Okay, so the sore throat maybe this is one of the medicines. इन स्किन आई टोल्ड यू दैट इज इनएबिलिटी टू स्वेट, पसीना तो मुझे होता ही नहीं है, स्किन बहुत ही ड्राई है. और मैं देखिए ना डॉक्टर, इसमें क्या क्या सब हो गया, इतनी इतनी खुजली होती, इतनी खुजली होती कि जब तक मैं से खून ना निकाल दूं ना तब तक मुझे आराम नहीं मिलता. सो दैट इज टू मच itching which is aggravated in the warmth of the bed and must scratch until it's bleeds. Okay, and if you see the fingernails are brittle. The fingernails are brittle just like thuja and the silicea in the antim fruit. इनके भी fingernails affect होते हैं. Another is your alumina, that is brittle skin on the fingers or the brittle fingernails, or there is cracks in the fingers also. ठीक है, so these because dryness है, so obviously within dryness there is a crack. So alumina is one of the remedy for that. Okay, so this is about up to this. Now there are some aluminum toxicity. So alumina medicines can antidote and can be used in this type of features also. For example, in osteoporosis, if you see the all the clinical feature of the alumina, it's bone fracture, in the dementia. Okay, slowness of the activity, sluggishness of the mind, कुछ याद नहीं रहता, confusion में है, मैं कहाँ पर हूँ, कौन हूँ, this is dementia. Osteoporosis in the bone fractures, okay, in the ataxia, myoclonus, agitation, and the confusion. So in the part 2, I will discuss much more about the disease-oriented part, in which disease we can use in the alumina and in which way how we'll identify this. Okay, so this is up to the alumina part 1, how our alumina patient develop. In the later part, we will discuss the physical part and how will you opt with look means how we look at the complaint of this alumina. Okay, so thank you everyone. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel and stay with us. I will be coming back soon with the part 2 of alumina. Okay.